Lyra sat alone inside the silent radar chamber of the vast Horizon station. The room was dark, except for the dim blue lights coming from the screens around her. She had worked the night shift for almost a year now, and she knew every sound the station made: the slow hum of the power core, the gentle vibration of the cooling pipes, and the distant echoes from the maintenance tunnels. Nothing ever changed. Nothing exciting ever happened this far out in the outer rim of the galaxy. Most ships avoided this region because there were no trade routes, no tourist worlds, and no important resources. The vast horizon was only a monitoring post created to watch for unusual signals near the ancient void sectors. Lyra sometimes wondered why the station even needed a radar operator when the screen stayed empty for days at a time. She leaned back in her chair and stretched her arms. Her shift still had 4 hours left, and she already felt sleepy. She pulled a warm blanket over her legs and took a sip of her tasteless station tea. As she tried to relax, she looked at the radar again, hoping for even a tiny speck of movement. Anything would be better than watching an empty screen. Lyra often remembered the stories her grandmother used to tell her when she was young. Stories about brave warriors, forgotten worlds, and mysterious travelers. But the story that stayed with her the most was about an old species that once walked among the stars: humans. Her grandmother told her that humans were unlike any other species, were bold, stubborn, unpredictable, and had a strange kind of courage that other civilizations could not understand. Some said humans once shaped great star empires and built machines that could split asteroids in half. Others said they were wild, dangerous, and impossible to control. But Lyra always liked the version of the story that said humans were simply explorers who traveled farther than anyone else. Now, sitting alone on the quiet station, she wished more than ever that those old stories were true. She wanted something to break the loneliness of the job. She wanted to see something new, something amazing, something that reminded her the universe was still full of mysteries. A soft beep suddenly broke the silence. Lyra blinked and sat up. She looked at the radar screen, confused at first. She thought it might be a dust particle or a software glitch. That happened sometimes when the station's systems updated automatically. But the beep repeated, steady, clear, and controlled. Her heart began to beat faster as she leaned forward and zoomed in on the display. A small dot had appeared on the very edge of the long-range radar map. It was faint at first, but a moment later it stabilized. Lyra stared at the dot, unable to look away. Every training file she had studied came rushing back into her mind. She checked the signal frequency, then the energy reading, then the engine signature. The more she checked, the more confused she became. She whispered to herself, This can't be right. The engine signature was not alien, did not match any of the known species: no ion trails, no slip drives, no warp patterns. Instead, the reading showed a direct reactive spike drive, a technology that had disappeared from the galaxy centuries ago. Only one species was ever rumored to have used such drives: humans, for a long moment. Lyra just sat there, staring at the screen, as the strange ship moved slowly across the radar grid. She felt her hands shake. She had always believed humans were just myths. Her teachers said they never existed. Her parents said the stories were only meant to entertain children. Even her friends laughed when she once mentioned the word human. But now, right in front of her, was a ship that should not exist. She jumped out of her chair and hurried to the communication panel. She contacted her supervisor, Officer Renner, and spoke quickly. She tried to explain what she saw, but he interrupted her halfway. Lyra, you must be tired. It's probably a software error, he said, without even checking the screens. No, sir, please, she replied urgently. This is not an error. I double-checked the readings. It's a real signature. It's moving toward our sector. Renner sighed loudly. Fine, I'll look at it later. For now, keep monitoring. The screen went silent. It ended the call. Lyra stood there stunned. She knew he did not believe her. No one ever believed strange things could happen this far out in the galaxy. She slowly walked back to her chair and sat down, trying to calm her breathing. She stared at the radar again. The dot was still there. It was moving closer. She leaned in and scanned the flight path. The ship was not moving in a straight line. It drifted slightly, almost as if it was searching for something or someone. Lyra wondered if the traveler inside was lost, If it really was a human, maybe they had been traveling alone in the dark for a long time. A sudden ache touched her heart at the thought of someone drifting through the endless void with no one to help. She opened a hidden file folder in the radar system. It contained all the old, unapproved data she had saved during her year on the station. Some were forgotten object sightings. Some were strange energy pulses from deep space. And some were old history files she found by accident in the station library. She searched the folder and pulled up an ancient document about human technology. The writing was old, the symbols faded. But the images were still clear. A small ship with thruster plates and reactive engines, just like the one she now saw on radar. Lyra's heart pounded harder. Shapes matched perfectly. She clutched the edge of her desk, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. She knew she needed more proof before reporting again. She increased the radar scan resolution. The display sharpened, and she could see the outline of the ship more clearly. It was small, probably built for 1 or 2 travelers. It looked old, yet strong, with a simple design that most modern species would never use. Whatever it was, it came from a civilization that believed in durability over elegance. The ship continued to approach slowly, and Lyra's curiosity grew stronger. She wondered what kind of person was inside. What did they look like? What were they thinking? Did they even know they were approaching an alien station? Her mind raced with questions. She imagined a lone explorer sitting inside a small cockpit, scanning the stars just like she was. She imagined old books filled with human languages, cultures, and music waiting to be rediscovered. She imagined the first moment they would speak to species meeting again after centuries of silence. A sudden light flashed on her console, breaking her thoughts. The ship had sent out a small energy pulse. Not a weapon, not a threat. It was a scan. A simple, gentle scan. The ship was trying to understand its surroundings. Lyra felt a soft smile spread across her face. Whoever was inside that ship was not here to harm anyone. They were exploring, searching, just like the humans in the old stories. She took a deep breath and whispered, "You're real. You're really real." The ship continued moving closer, its signal now strong and clear. Lyra knew this moment would change her life. She knew she could not let the chance slip away. Even if no one believed her, even if they called her a dreamer again, she would not look away from the truth in front of her. The radar pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat in the dark, and Lyra understood that the universe had just become much bigger than she ever imagined. Lyra had barely slept after her shift ended. Her mind kept returning to the strange ship she saw on the radar, even while walking through the station halls. She felt a strange energy inside her, as if something important was waiting just beyond reach. She could not forget the steady movement of the unknown craft, the old engine signature, or the gentle scan it sent toward the station. Every small detail felt like proof that she had witnessed something extraordinary. When her next shift finally began, she entered the radar chamber with renewed focus. She closed the door behind her and hurried to her console. The first thing she checked was the long-range radar map. Her heart jumped. The ship had moved even closer now, well within the station's scanning range. The signal was stronger, sharper, and clearer than before. She whispered under her breath, "You really came all the way here?" She tapped the communication line again and contacted her supervisor. This time she spoke with more confidence. "Sir, the unknown ship from yesterday has entered medium-range detection. We should prepare a contact protocol." "It might be friendly." Renner sounded irritated as he replied. "Lyra, I already told you this is probably a drifting old drone or some abandoned craft. Stop imagining things." "This isn't a drone," she said firmly. "Drones don't make controlled scans, and they don't keep a stable path." Renner groaned loudly through the speaker. "Fine, I'll bring it up to the commander. But if this turns out to be nothing, you will need to redo your training logs."
Oh.
The call ended again. Lyra let out a slow breath. She knew Renner still didn't believe her, but she also knew she couldn't turn away from this moment. Something inside her kept pushing her forward. She felt like all the stories she grew up with were waiting at her. Doorstep, she returned to her console and increased the resolution of the radar. This time, the system generated a partial holographic outline. The hologram formed slowly, made of soft white lines floating above her table. It showed the shape of a small starship, compact, strong, and clean. No curved alien wings or glowing power cores. Instead, it had a solid metal body with angular plates and a reinforced front. Lyra stared at the image with awe. This design belonged to a practical mind, someone who built ships for survival, not style. It looked like something out of the oldest documents in the archive's human design. Before she could think further, a new alert flashed on the screen. It was a communication attempt, an incoming signal directed toward the station. The frequency was unusual, but the pattern was clear. Someone inside that ship was trying to talk to them. Lyra felt her breath catch in her throat. She hesitated for a moment, then quickly opened the receiving channel. The speaker crackled. A burst of static echoed in the chamber. She leaned closer, hoping for any clear sound. Then a voice came through. A real voice. Calm, deep, human, unknown station. This is Commander Isaac Hale of the exploration vessel Silverwing, requesting identification and confirmation. Repeat, requesting identification. Lyra froze in place. Every hair on her arms lifted. She'd never heard a human voice before. It sounded different, more grounded, more steady, with a natural strength behind it. She almost forgot to breathe as she listened. She quickly tapped the station broadcast button. Her voice trembled slightly, but she spoke clearly. This is Vast Horizon Station. We receive your transmission. Please state your origin. There was a brief pause. Then the voice replied, I represent one of the surviving human colonies from the Lumen sector. I am traveling on a research mission. My ship's systems detected your station, so I attempted contact. Lyra pressed her hand against her chest. She felt her heartbeat pounding strongly. Humans really existed. They were alive. And one of them had just spoken directly to her. Before she could respond again, the door to the radar room opened sharply. Commander Thalos himself stepped inside, followed closely by Officer Renner and 2 security officers. The commander looked serious, focused, and slightly uneasy. Lyra, Thalos said, step away from the console. Lyra stood up immediately, but she looked at the commander with hope. Sir, he's human. The readings were real. He confirmed it. Thalos nodded slowly as he studied the open communication stream. We heard the last part of the transmission. If this truly is a human ship, this is historic. His voice carried both caution and curiosity. He stepped toward the broadcast panel and introduced himself formally. This is Commander Thalos of Vast Horizon Station. We confirm your signal and welcome peaceful communication. The reply came almost instantly. Commander Thalos, thank you for responding. My ship has been traveling alone for several cycles. I am relieved to receive a friendly answer. Thalos glanced at Lyra, giving her a small, respectful nod. Your alert may have saved us from ignoring a crucial event, he whispered. Lyra felt warmth rise inside her chest. It was the first time her commander acknowledged her like that. Then Isaac's voice came again, steady and calm. I request permission to establish a visual link. My purpose is peaceful exploration only. Thalos hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Permission granted. The holographic projector activated. At first, only static filled the air. Then, slowly, the figure of Commander Isaac Hale appeared. He stood tall inside his small starship cockpit, wearing a simple exploration suit. His face was strong but calm, with eyes that held a quiet determination. His posture was steady, and he looked directly into the holocamera with confidence. Lyra felt something strange when she saw him like she was. Looking at the answer to a question she did not know she had been asking, Talos greeted him carefully. Commander Hale, welcome to the Vast Horizon sector. Humanity has not been heard from in a very long time. Isaac nodded. The old networks collapsed after the Great Silence. Our people went into hiding until we rebuilt our colonies. I am the first explorer sent to re-establish contact with outer civilizations. Renner stepped forward, surprisingly polite for once. Why come here? Why this region? Isaac's expression softened. Because older maps said This area once had listening posts. I followed those old records, hoping at least one station was still active. And it seems I was right. Lyra couldn't help smiling a little. He sounded relieved, almost grateful. Thalos asked, "Do you require assistance?" "My ship's star charts need updating," Isaac replied. "But more importantly, I would like to share information and learn about current galactic affairs. Humans wish to reconnect peacefully." The room fell silent for a moment. Lyra watched the commander, hoping he would accept. Finally, Thalos said, "Vast Horizon Station welcomes peaceful explorers. We will assist," as I gave a small, respectful nod. "Thank you, Commander. And thank you to the operator who detected my ship first. I owe her my safety." Lyra's breath caught. She felt every eye in the room turn to her. Isaac looked directly at her holographic form and gave a small smile. "You must be the one who found my signal," he said gently. "I appreciate your attention and your courage." Lyra felt her face warm. She tried to speak, but only managed a soft, "You're welcome." It felt like the entire universe was holding its breath. Then the alarm suddenly flashed red. A warning appeared on the radar screen. Identified ships approaching fast. Talos turned sharply. "Who are they?" Lyra checked the signatures. Her stomach tightened. "It's the Zarukan faction. And they're coming straight toward us." Renner cursed softly. "They must have detected the human ship. They will try to capture it." Isaac's eyes turned serious. "If they attempt to board my ship, they will not succeed. But I do not wish for conflict." Talos straightened his posture. "Prepare defenses. Lyra, keep communication open." As chaos began to rise, Lyra looked again at Isaac's calm expression. She realized something important. This was only the beginning. The galaxy had changed the moment his voice reached her station, and she knew deep inside that humanity's return was not going to be simple. The moment the alarms turned red, the peaceful atmosphere inside the radar chamber disappeared. Every officer on the station suddenly moved with tense urgency. Commander Thalos gave orders through the intercom, while security teams rushed down the hallways. Lyra felt her heart race as she watched the radar screen fill with fast-moving dots. The Zarukan ships were closing in at an alarming speed, their engines burning bright signatures that showed they were coming with full power. Lyra zoomed in on one of the readings. The sharp angles of the Zarukan ships confirmed her fear. They were fitted with clamp arms, EMP launchers, and grappling modules. These were not patrol ships. They were hunter vessels, designed to board and capture targets. In the past, the Zarukans had been known to take any advanced technology they found valuable. A human ship, especially one that carried old technology, would be the biggest prize they had ever seen. Lyra looked at the hologram of Isaac Hale inside his ship. His calm expression had changed into steady focus. He tapped several controls inside his cockpit, and small lights blinked on the sides of his suit. Even though he stood alone in a small vessel, he did not seem afraid. Commander Thalos addressed him with urgency. "Commander Hale, the Zarukan faction is approaching quickly. They are hostile. They will try to capture your ship." Isaac nodded once. "I understand. My ship has defensive capabilities, but I do not want to start a battle near your station. Too many lives are at risk here." "We will protect you," Thalos said firmly. Isaac's eyes softened for a brief second. "I appreciate your courage." Lyra watched the exchange with growing anxiety. The station had basic defenses, but it was not built for heavy battles. Isaac's ship seemed strong, yet it was small and outnumbered. She wondered how he remained so calm at a time like this. She remembered the stories her grandmother told her. Humans, she said, were fearless when danger came close. If those stories were true, she was now watching that courage with her own eyes. The Zarukan ships entered short-range scanning. A sharp alarm echoed through the chamber. "They're deploying boarding clamps." Renner shouted. Lyra could see it on the radar, a curved formation, a classic Zarukan tactic. They were trying to surround the human vessel to cut off its escape path. She quickly recalculated the timing. "Commander, they will reach his ship in less than 2 minutes." Talos clenched his jaw. "Activate shield layer 2. Redirect power to the outer hull." The The station lights flickered as the energy systems shifted. Lyra felt the vibration beneath her feet change pitch. The station was preparing for impact. Isaac tapped a switch inside his cockpit. Vast horizon, I am activating my defensive halo. It won't fire unless they attack first. A faint glow surrounded his ships, soft, controlled, and clear. Unlike the aggressive shields of other species, this one looked calm, almost peaceful. It felt like a silent warning. Stay away. But the Zarukans did not care. The first enemy ship fired a small a small, Les bounced harmlessly off the halo shield with a blue flash. Isaac spoke calmly. They have made the first move. Thalos took a deep breath. Understood. Engage defensive fire. The station fired low-power counterbeams to push back the Zarukans. The beams did not aim to destroy, only to warn and delay. But the Zarukans pressed harder, sending 3 more ships forward. Their boarding claws opened like metal jaws, ready to latch onto the human craft without waiting for orders. Isaac maneuvered. His ship spun gracefully, slipping through the narrow gaps between the Zarukan ships. Lyra gasped quietly as she watched the movement. His flying style was unlike anything she had ever seen from alien pilots. It was quick, but smooth. Bold, but precise. Almost like the instinct of a creature used to fighting for survival in harsh places. He spoke as he moved. Their formation is predictable. I will break through the right flank. Renner stared at the screen. How does he know exactly where the weak point is? Lyra answered softly, humans. They see things differently. They react fast. My grandmother used to say they move like they are part of the situation, not outside it. Thalos glanced at her but did not question it. He simply said, keep tracking. Isaac's ship shot forward with surprising speed. 2 Zarukan clamps missed him by inches. He rotated sharply, sending his vessel through a narrow path that no alien pilot would dare attempt. Inside the hologram, Isaac looked calm, completely focused. He flicked several switches, and his ship emitted a controlled energy burst behind him. The burst hit one of the Zarukan ships and pushed it off balance without damaging it. Lyra whispered, "Is helping them avoid crashing into each other." Even when they're chasing him, it shocked her. Isaac was being attacked, yet he still avoided hurting the enemy. He moved like someone who understood danger deeply, but did not want to cause unnecessary harm, but the Zarukans refused to back off. 4 more ships arrived. One of them shot a grappling hook. It hit Isaac's halo shield and stuck there, the chain rattling in space. Isaac's voice remained calm. They're becoming desperate. The grapple began to drain his shield energy slowly. Lyra felt panic rise inside her. Commander Thalos, his shield is weakening by 0.3% every second. Thalos turned sharply. Send support drones. 2 small defense drones left the station and flew toward Isaac's ship, firing controlled beams at the grappling chain. The Zarukan ship tried to pull harder, but the beam heated the chain until it snapped. Isaac quickly reversed, breaking free from the trap. His voice came through again. Thank you. That was well coordinated. Lyra felt pride warm her chest, even though she only relayed information. She wondered how Isaac could remain so composed while entire ships tried to capture him. She wondered what kind of training, what kind of spirit, gave humans such calm in chaos. Another Zarukan ship tried to flank him from below. Isaac reacted instantly, tilting his ship in a perfect counterarc. He fired a tiny flash charge, not a weapon, but a burst of light that blinded the enemy sensors for 2 seconds. The ship spun out of position. Renner blinked in surprise. He used a flash charge instead of a beam. Why? Lyra answered quickly, because a beam would damage them. A flash charge only distracts. Thalos nodded slowly. He is trying to avoid casualties. That takes discipline. The battle continued like a strange dance. Isaac's vessel spun, shifted, and glided through enemy attempts with the grace of a creature born for survival. He made no aggressive attack. Every move he took was defensive, focused on protecting both himself and those pursuing him. Lyra realized something important. Humans were dangerous not because they destroyed, but because they refused to break. Finally, after several tense minutes, the Zarukan ships began to retreat. Their fuel signatures weakened as they pulled back toward the outer rim. Lyra checked the radar and saw their dots drifting farther away. "They're withdrawing," she said with relief. "Their leader is recalling them. They lost too much coordination," LO6 hailed. "Good. They realize they cannot win without causing a full-scale conflict." Isaac lowered his defensive halo. His face appeared again on the hologram. He looked tired but still calm. "Commander Thalos," he said softly, "I thank you. Without your support, I would not have escaped their formation." Thalos nodded. "Your flying saved all of us. I've never seen maneuvers like that." Isaac gave a faint smile. "Humans adapt quickly. It is how we survive." Lyra watched him, feeling something strong and new stirring inside her. She had seen bravery before, but not like this. Isaac's courage was quiet, controlled, and focus did not come from pride, but from responsibility. For the first time in her life, she truly understood why ancient stories described humans as something special. Isaac looked at Lyra through the hologram and spoke softly, almost gently, "And thank you, Operator Lyra. You guided me when I needed it most." Lyra felt warmth rise in her chest. "I only did what anyone would do," she said. Isaac shook his head slightly. "No, you paid attention when others would have ignored the signal. That made all the difference." For a moment, the radar room felt peaceful again. The danger had passed, and the tension faded. But deep inside, Lyra knew the galaxy had just witnessed the return of something powerful, something the stars had not seen in a long time, and she understood that nothing would ever be the same again. The station slowly returned to a calmer state once the Zarukan ships had fully retreated into the darkness of the outer rim. Red lights turned back to their normal blue glow, sirens stopped ringing, and the usual soft hum of Vast Horizon's engines filled the hallways again. But even though everything looked normal, nothing felt normal anymore. Every officer could sense a change in the air. As if a new chapter of history had quietly opened in front of them, Lyra felt this change more deeply than anyone else. Her hands still trembled slightly, not out of fear, but out of awe. She could not believe she had witnessed a real human ship being chased, defended, and saved right in front of her eyes. She could not believe she had spoken to a human explorer, someone who carried the weight of a forgotten civilization on his shoulders. And she definitely could not forget the way he had thanked her. Calm and sincere, as if her small actions had truly mattered. After the battle, Commander Thalos decided that Isaac Hale should land his ship inside the station's docking bay for safety. Lyra stood near the railing above the docking platform as the Silver Wing approached. Guided by magnetic clamps and soft landing lights, the ship looked even more impressive in person, compact, battle-worn, but strong and dignified. Like a traveler who had crossed storms and survived them all, a gentle thump echoed across the bay as the craft settled onto the platform. Engineers, medics, and security officers gathered around, watching the ramp slowly lower. Lyra held her breath as she waited. She had seen Isaac only through hologram projections before. Seeing him in person felt strangely important, almost unreal. When he finally stepped out, the whole bay seemed to pause. He looked exactly as he had appeared in the hologram comm posture. Steady steps, and eyes that carried both tiredness and hope. His suit was scratched, and his boots showed marks from long journeys across unknown places. One look at him told everyone that he was not a soldier, not a conqueror, but a traveler who had survived too much to fear anything now. Commander Thalos walked forward and extended a hand in welcome. Isaac accepted the gesture with quiet respect. "Commander Hale," Thalos said, "Vast Horizon Station welcomes you as an honored guest. We will assist you in any way we can." Isaac bowed his head slightly. "Your help has already saved my life. I am grateful." His voice carried gently across the bay, and Lyra couldn't help noticing how naturally he spoke, how every word felt grounded and sincere. She had heard hundreds of alien species talk before, but something about a human voice felt different. It had weight. It had warmth. Thalos escorted him through the station. Many crew members peeked around corners or pretended to check equipment just to get a glimpse of the human visitor. Some whispered in surprise, some in curiosity, and others in disbelief. For centuries, humans had been the subject of old stories, myths, and rumors. To see one walking through their hallways felt like seeing a legend come to life. Lyra followed the group quietly. She stayed a few steps behind, not wanting to seem too eager, though her heart beat faster every time Isaac glanced in her direction. When their eyes met briefly, he gave her a small nod, the same kind he had given earlier through the hologram. That simple gesture made her feel strangely proud. Later that day, a meeting was arranged in the central hall. Isaac shared the history of the human colonies, how they had survived the Great Silence, rebuilt their societies, and slowly expanded once again. His words were simple, but carried a powerful honesty. He described long nights where entire settlements had only each other to rely on. He described their determination to rise again despite losing contact with the galaxy. And he described the hope that had pushed him to leave his home and travel. Alone into the unknown, the officers listened with deep respect. Even those who didn't believe in human stories before now sat quietly, understanding that everything they heard was not just history, it was survival. When the meeting ended, Isaac approached Lyra directly. She stiffened slightly. Surprised, he came to her first, even though many high-ranking officers stood nearby. "I wanted to speak with you," Isaac said gently. "You were the first voice I heard. That moment meant more than you know." Lyra felt her face warm. "I was just doing my job," maybe he said softly. "But you did it with attention and courage. That is rare." For a moment, they just stood there, quietly studying each other. Isaac then spoke again, his tone thoughtful. "There is something I want to ask you, if you are willing to listen." Lyra nodded immediately. "Of course, my people have rebuilt much," he continued, "but we still know very little about the modern galaxy. We want to reconnect peacefully. We want to understand, learn, and share knowledge. But to do that, we need someone who understands both sides." Lyra blinked, confused for a moment. "Both sides?" Isaac smiled slightly. "Yes, someone who knows the galaxy today. Someone who was brave enough to pay attention when everyone else doubted the signal. Someone who is curious and who believes in possibilities." He paused, then said clearly, "Lyra, I would like to invite you to visit the human colony with me. Not as a passenger, but as an exchange officer, someone who can form a bridge between our species." Lyra felt her breath catch. Her heart beat fast. She did not expect this. The station had been her home for years. She knew every hallway, every system, every quiet sound the station made. Leaving it felt unthinkable. But the idea of seeing a human world, talking to more humans, learning about their history, and helping build something new, stirred something powerful inside her. She had spent her life staring at empty radar screens, dreaming of adventure. And now, the universe was offering her one. Commander Thalos watched her carefully. He understood the weight of Isaac's invitation. After a long silence, he spoke gently. "Lyra, this decision is yours. But if you choose to go, the station will support you." Lyra looked at Isaac again. His expression was calm, but hopeful. He was offering her something bigger than a journey. He was offering her a place in history. She took a slow, deep breath. I would like to accept." Isaac's eyes softened. "Then you will be welcome among us." The next day, preparations began. The human ship needed refueling and repairs. Supplies were loaded. The engineers made sure it could travel safely back to Isaac's colony. Lyra gathered her belongings only a small bag. Since she owned very little besides her uniforms and her grandmother's old storybook about forgotten species, when the moment finally came for her to board the Silver Wing, many station crew members gathered to see her off. Some wished her luck, some thanked her for representing vast horizon, and some simply stared in awe at the idea that a young radar operator would be stepping into human territory. Isaac stood at the base of the ramp, waiting for her. Lyra approached with steady steps, though her heart raced. When she reached him, he spoke softly. "Are you ready?" Lyra looked back at the station one last time. She had lived there for years. She had dreamed there, worked there, and sometimes felt lonely there. But now she felt something different. She felt called toward something greater. She turned to Isaac. "Yes, I'm ready." They stepped inside the ship together. The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. The engines hummed gently as the vessel prepared to lift. Through the window, Lyra saw the station crew waving, their figures growing smaller as the ship rose. When the Silver Wing left the docking bay and drifted into the open stars, Lyra felt a wave of emotion wash over her. The universe looked bigger than ever before, bright, endless. Full of promise, Isaac sat at the pilot's seat and glanced at her with a small smile. "A new chapter begins," he said quietly. Lyra nodded. "For humans, and for us?" The ship turned toward the distant cluster of human colonies. The stars shimmered ahead, welcoming their journey. And so, the forgotten species was no longer forgotten. The myths were no longer myths. Humanity had returned to the galaxy. And Lyra, the radar operator who had dared to believe in an impossible signal, was now part of the story that would change everything forever.